Well, good evening. And on behalf of Stephen Rosenfield, I'd love to welcome you to the American Comedy Institute's live virtual stand-up comedy show. Tonight, you are going to see comics from all across the country. I mean, some are making their stand-up debut as the culmination of our August comedy workshop with ACI founder, Mr. Stephen Rosenfield. And we are very excited to show off all their whole hard work. We do hold workshops every month and we do live shows at Gotham, but tonight you're getting the virtual edition. So please do us a favor, follow ACI Comedy on all social media platforms. And while you're here on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. And in case this is your first time with us, Stephen Rosenfield started the American Comedy Institute back in New York in 1989. Steve is an award-winning comedy writer, director, the author of the best-selling book, Mastering Stand-Up. Alumni of the American Comedy Institute have gone on to perform on The Tonight Show, The Late Show, Conan, SNL, and in clubs all over the world. So you may be just getting a glimpse tonight of our next ACI star. I'm your host tonight, Jay Yoder, and we're going to have some fun. All right, so drop in the chat where you're from. Let us know. I'm super excited because today was my first day back at school. That's right. I am a public middle school teacher for the last 20 years, and that is too long, but not long enough. I mean, and I thought it was going to make me a better dad. I'll be honest. I have two small kids, and I was one of these like 80s latchkey kids growing up. Like I didn't have a dad in the house. So like I had to I was raised by my TV dads. So like I so badly wanted to be one of the Huxtables. I love the Cosby Show because even my fictional dad was a disappointment. And I really, they just don't. Here's my beef, if I'm being honest. They don't prepare you to be a parent. They don't. I mean, I took my kids to New York City, right? The Big Apple. You know why they call it the Big Apple? Because they're using that apple like my old roommate as a bong, right? It's recreationally legal to smoke marijuana like everywhere. And I took my 6-year-old, my 8-year-old, and we got on this elevator and off rolled Cheech and Chong's grandsons. I mean, they're wearing like NYU hoodies. There's this waft, and my 6-year-old starts sniffing. Daddy, what's that smell? Can I tell you there's not a single chapter in what to expect when you're expecting on that moment? I panicked. I was like, sweetheart, that's what college smells like. I'm also the proud father of a daughter who's on the spectrum. She's autistic, but she's on the badass end of the spectrum. I don't know if you know that's actually a clinical term. But during the pandemic, she was actually in first grade. We had a note come home. It said Alicia's been using the F word, but she's using it appropriately. I'm sorry, appropriately? Like F this effing pandemic? I mean, what are we talking about? Was this good news? Actually, she was diagnosed nonverbal autistic, so we didn't think she was ever going to speak. I was like, so you're telling me she's using fuck appropriately in the first grade? I'm sorry, but that was an honor roll certificate. Where's my bumper sticker? My kid curses on a 7th grade level. I didn't realize too with autism that it just means that she's always going to be smarter than me. I just didn't know that. She came in the other day uh and her brain is like a Google image search, I guess is how I would describe it, which is amazing if your dad doesn't constantly talk in metaphors and analogies. I mean, she came in the other day, she's like, Daddy, what can I have for a snack? I was like, whatever floats your boat. And she looked at me and she's like, Daddy, Archimedes' principle is not a snack. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, well, that's what floats a boat. If you say so, sweetheart. She's like, no, Daddy, I didn't say so. Archimedes did. Sweetheart, the goldfish are in the pantry. I think one of the other beautiful things I didn't realize about autism is that she doesn't have a filter, which is really a superpower because how many times have you been out to a restaurant and you ordered a meal subpar, waiter comes over, says, hey, how do you like it? And what do you say? Fine. And you complain to whoever you're with for the rest of the night. Not Alicia. She got a lemonade instead of a Sprite the other day. She was like, I ordered Sprite. Like, whoa, sweetheart, you catch more flies with honey. She's like, Daddy, I don't want flies. I want Sprite. I was like, all right, well, then maybe when she comes back, like compliment her on the food. So the woman comes back and Alicia is like, this is the best Mexican food ever. Like, all right, sweetheart, how about you dial it back a notch? I mean, you're eating chicken tenders. All right. I also didn't realize like she scripts all the time, so she just hears stuff and like latches onto it. She got off the bus today talking about capping. Have you heard this capping? Apparently it means lying. Do you know why they use the word cap? They don't either. They have no idea. I had a kid the other day. He was like, Mr. Yoder, bet. So I pulled my wallet out. I'm like, you want the over under on summer school? Apparently it just means okay. And how about you say that, Jimmy? I'm going to start using lingo that these kids don't understand. Hey, Mr. Yoder, what time's this class over? Quarter of. I bet you won't figure that one out, Chief. Well, I've been Jay Yoder. I'm going to be your host for tonight. I'm going to be the cruise director as I kind of take you through all of the amazing stand-ups that I've been working with Steve. Debut, please welcome the very funny Aiden Tuers.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. So, I go to the University of Oregon, and there is a course there called German Sexuality. And it makes me wonder, what's so different about German sex? Will you have to learn certain vocabulary? Like harder, faster, harder, faster. I mean, that's crazy, right? So I took the class. And they showed us all these movies from before Hitler came into power. And there was all this really bizarre, weird sex stuff. I think that the teacher was trying to say that sex like that gets people turned on, and that people who get turned on by stuff like this had to do with the rise of Hitler. If that's true, that scares me. I might be a Nazi, but I am glad I am at the University of Oregon. I think I found a career that I really want to pursue. It's called twink handling. Twinks are young gay guys, and sometimes they have handlers, someone to go to bars and clubs with them, because there's all like this sex and drugs, and somebody's got to keep them safe. So, yeah, I want to do that for a living. I've also been thinking about house husbandry. It's not sex work, but it is another weird thing you can do for money. So I grew up on a farm and I got interested in like showing my pigs, and you need some stuff to do that. And my mom said she'd order it for me, but I think she ordered it from the wrong website. The whips had like tassels on them, and there was body oil, glitter, and handcuffs. At first, I was really angry at her, but I think it ended up being a good thing. It's really how I first became interested in being a twink handler. I don't know, guys. I feel guilty about everything. I mean, I'd feel guilty about going to heaven because I know for a fact that none of my friends are going to be there. Are any of you praying? Well, heads up because it's not going to work. There is a lot of gender inequality out there. I hope that I live to see the day when women can kill people to get attention too. My therapist told me that I'm not autistic. I didn't even ask her. Isn't that weird? I guess she's not gonna give me meds for, being like this. Apparently, it's gotta be something that's fixable. Right, thank you.
Oh, give it up for Aiden Tuers. How about it? Oh my goodness. I was born Irish Catholic, so I was born with a lot of guilt. It totally checks the boxes. That all makes sense. I'm excited for our next act. We're going down to Florida this time. So all the way from Tampa, Florida, also making her ACI debut. Please welcome Susan. Ooh, Yeah, Susan Guidi.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad I am muted. I'm Susan. Thank you so much for being here. So I'm a sonographer, and I work a lot in urology. Yeah, I know a lot of people don't know what either one of those things are. So to put it in plain English, I scan dicks. Yeah, I feel like I'm doing important work, especially on Wednesdays, or what I affectionately refer to as Pee-Pee Wednesdays. Every Wednesday, I dress all sexy. I put on perfume. Honey, the men need me. I'm the Florence Nightingale of erectile dysfunction. I remember my first case. I picked up the chart and read 33-year-old white male who fractured his penis while having intercourse. Fractured. Oy. Talk about aggressive. I don't think that's what they meant when they say bend it like Beckham. Yeah. And so, because it was my first case, I kind of got off to a shaky start. I said to him, "Good morning, sir. I'm going to perform an ultrasound on your penis. I'm going to then follow it with an injectable like Viagra substance." And he seemed fine up until that point. But I kind of lost him when I said, "Don't worry, it won't hurt. It's just a little prick." Oh, come on. I was kidding. He should have known I was kidding. So there was nothing to do but start the exam. And I pulled down his sheet and I pulled it a little further. And I pulled it a little further. And I pulled it a little further. Oh my God, it was the most beautiful, most magnificent, biggest penis I had ever seen. There was a colleague in the room with me, and she had a lot more expertise than I did. And I know she was saying something to me, but I couldn't hear anything because I was completely distracted by this bright white light that shone from the heavens on his dick. And then a choir of angels who started singing, "Oh." I didn't know if I should scan it or build a shrine to it. I do a lot of comedy with young males. And as an older woman, I feel like I need to give them advice. A typical night might go like this. So a guy gets up on stage, he's talking about his sex life. "Yeah, I smoked a joint, I stooped her here, I stooped her there, I stooped her everywhere." Is this like a porn version of Dr. Seuss? I stooped her here, there, everywhere? Everywhere? I just wanted to scream from my seat. "Dude, she doesn't have that many holes. There's only 3. Yeah, and you know what else I am? I'm a competitive bodybuilder. I am. And you have to get a spray tan on the night before you compete. And let me tell you, no one ever prepares you to stand in line naked at 4 a.m. with a bunch of strangers. It's literally like going to the gynecologist and the nurse says to you, "You see that line of perfect anatomic specimens? Take off your clothes and go stand in line with them." And all I can think is that, gee, I used to have skin like that. And then there's the spray tan experience itself. 2 women man a 400-pound pressure spray gun hose to put this solution on you. But of course, to my horror, it isn't sticking to me. It's running off my ass. It's dripping, kind of like Rudy Giuliani's hair dye during that really awkward impromptu press conference. You know what I mean? Yeah, It's dripping, and they have to get out a paint roller to sop up the drips. But in the end, it was all good. I was bronzed. I was beautiful, even though it took a construction crew and perhaps a mop to get me there. Thank you so much. You've been a great audience.
Oh my goodness, give it up for Susan Guidi one more time from Tampa, Florida. Wow. I get the line. I was the heavyweight on the wrestling team. I definitely relate to that moment of I used to have skin like that when I was born. Before I bring up your next comment, if you're watching this and you're thinking, I'd love to try stand-up comedy, then we would love to have you at our next workshop in October. Whether you're a first timer or a seasoned vet, this workshop is for you. It'll actually be held in person in New York City, but it can be completed in 5 days if you're an out-of-towner. So please check our website at AmericanComedyInstitute.com for more information. We would love to have you join the ACI family. And now, without further ado, from Detroit, Michigan, I'd love to introduce the very funny Shelby Lane.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Jay. Thank you very much. And thank you for being here today, everyone. I'm an emergency physician and I specialize in patients who've been shot, stabbed, and knocked in the head. Yeah, that's right. I'm from Detroit, baby. So I'm very mindful of being shot, stabbed, and knocked in the head while I'm at work. I'm so stressed out that when I don't hear the sound of police sirens and bullets, pop, 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 I'm like, uh-oh, I better get out of here. Look, my anxiety is so bad that I decided to get professional advice from myself. It's the same common sense advice that I give to my really stressed out patients. Go to the spa, take a vacation, baby, get a divorce. But I decided that I wasn't going to do any of those things. No, not again. I wanted to do something brand new. I decided to go to outer space. I applied to be an astronaut. Yep, an astronaut, because what woman doesn't want to be weightless? I call that diet 0G. I finally reached my ideal weight. So when someone says, how much do you weigh, Shelby? I'm like, nothing. And I know I'll have to pack light. The last time I flew, the flight attendant said, ma'am, no extra baggage. And I said, ma'am, that extra baggage is my butt. So I'm not making this stuff up. The truth is, this astronaut thing is not new. When I was doing my residency in Houston, Texas, I saw a help wanted ad in the newspaper. Yeah, the newspaper. The ad said hiring astronauts, no experience required. Like, duh. So I applied. And if you're applying for a job as an astronaut, how could you even have experience? Weed. See, what had happened was I got that call from NASA, and apparently NASA is a lot like Robert De Niro. They were both looking for Black chicks. They said, Dr. Lane, this is NASA. Can you come to Johnson Space Center to be an astronaut? Well, yeah, but I almost missed the call because I don't ordinarily answer a call from the government. See, when you're a Black woman and the government calls, like, I don't know nothing, I ain't see nothing, I ain't hear nothing. So let me tell you, this was the job interview process from hell. It was 44 hours, 5 days, and a colonoscopy. What job interview includes a colonoscopy? I'm like, what the hell y'all looking for? Asteroids? And there's also a 5-hour psychological exam. I could tell from the questions, they wanted to see if I had the right stuff. And they also wanted to see if I was crazy. Look, after 5 hours of question after question after question, I had a complete meltdown. Because halfway through this thing, I was like, excuse me, when this is all over, are you trying to decide if you want to fit me for a spacesuit or for a straitjacket? And then at the very end of the interview, because they're not done with you, no way, NASA tried to scare me from accepting the job. They said, Dr. Lane, things could blow up. I said, NASA, I'm from Detroit. Shit blows up all the time. So I didn't make it then, but I didn't give up. So fast forward to 2024 and now, and just here lately, Discovery Channel was running a reality show contest called Who Wants to Be an Astronaut? And guess what? I applied and I'm a finalist. The winner goes to the International Space Station. But apparently, SpaceX is like the Democratic Party. They're looking for Black chicks. When I told my BFF that I applied, she looked at me and she said, "Girl, you know you are too old to be talking about going to space." I'm like, "Hater." Needless to say, she's no longer my BFF, but she's still my daughter. I told her, "Look, they sent 91-year-old Captain Kirk, William Shatner to space. If they can send that old gas bag up there, anybody can go." And good thing they didn't let him drive because he would have left the turn signal on the entire time. So I'm just saying, I think Discovery Channel has to pick me, not because I'm a doctor in the hood, no, but because if there is life in outer space, who better to negotiate with aliens? I talk to aliens every day, crackheads. Um, and I'm really concerned, not about going to the IS, but I'm concerned because I'm a Black woman of a certain age, and I'm worried that they're going to sit me in the back of the rocket by the bathroom in the Rosa Parks section. With my luck, there'll be the part of the rocket that gets ejected back into the ocean. And that would really upset me because I'm a Black woman and I don't want to get my hair wet. Thank you very much. I'm Shelby Lane.
Hey, Houston, you're about to have a problem if you don't pick Dr. Lane. All right. Please give it up for Shelby Lane one more time, coming from Detroit, Michigan. You don't even know what's about to happen, guys. I'm very excited for your next act. This energy, I could feel it. I'm in Philadelphia. I could feel this energy coming all the way from Seattle, Washington. Please welcome your next comedian, Brooklyn Descent.
All right, my people. How's it going? Make sure you tip the staff if maybe your kids right now, since you're on Zoom. Yo, what's up? My name is Brooklyn and I'm from Seattle and I'm a happiness coach and motivational speaker. And let me tell you, I do that for a living because I need it for myself. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I wake up and I'm thinking, I need some motivation. And so I decided to get into a relationship because people said it was a good thing. Let me tell you, I've been finding out lately what kind of relationship person I am. Now, when I speak to my corporate clients, I'm talking about work and how to be good at work and how to do. I don't do relationships very well. Like I know how to get out of them really well, like super fast. But honestly, like I'm trying, people. Let me tell you what's going on. So I'm in sort of like this long distance relationship situation. Okay, so I say long distance, but it's a little bit exaggeration because she lives across the street. Okay. And the fact that she lives across the street, you would think we see each other every day. In fact, that's why she moved across the street. So we can hang out together, do Netflix and chill. And when people ask us, "Oh, what are you doing for the weekend?" I'm like, Costco on the couch. Like, I'm going to take up my entire mortgage. Like, I'm going to take my time and use my energy for my life. Right. But I thought she would be part of it. Turns out, my friends, that we see each other maybe once or twice a week. And that's because what I discovered is I'm actually dating a cat. And by a cat, I mean an Aquarius. Aquarius in the house, up in the house. Anybody know Aquarius? I've never dated Aquarius. I usually date Sagittarius or crazy Scorpios or, possessive Capricorns, but Aquarius blew my mind. And so here we are. I'm actually in this relationship. I'm like, hey, bet, how about I figure out, how to make this work? Well, the interesting thing is that I said, how is this going to work? Because we barely see each other. We barely text. Because as a Virgo, I'm a planner, right? I plan my psychosis. Like I plan how often we're going to see each other, which is every day. And I'm going to text you every day, in the morning, in the evening, in the weekend. Like I want to know every bit of your day so I can plan out what we're going to do. No, not her. she maybe, in fact, I can't remember the last thing she texted me. In fact, I don't even know if we're together. You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea where this relationship is going because I am like in my head. But then every now and again, she emerges. She's like, she sends me that cute text like, hey, babe. I'm like, oh snap. Oh, snap. She texts. I'm like, and I have like a paragraph. Hey, babe. And I just tell her my whole day. And cat people don't like that. Because cat people, you know, if you have a cat person in your life, because they're curious, but they're not that interested. Like, right? Like they kind of dabble, but not really interested in all the things, right? So what I have discovered in dating an Aquarius is that it's kind of a good thing. It's changing my perspective on relationships. Like, you don't need all this like everyday text, like, you know, how you doing and how's your morning, how you been and what are you doing at night, and you haven't even left the house. You don't need that. What I actually realized, my friends, is what I known all along. I just want to be alone. I just want to be alone. I want to be left alone. Why we bother? In fact, we all want to be left alone. I don't know why we get into relationship. The minute we get into relationship, we want to get out. The minute we don't really want to be in it. We want to figure out, well, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? I'm going to swipe left. I'm going to swipe right. It's too much. It's too much pressure. So now I say to my friends, you know what? Instead of wanting to be in a relationship that is taking up all your time, look at me be, you know, growing in my life. I'm just going to sit back and relax as much as I can as a Virgo and not plan for every detail of my relationship. I'm just going to let it take its course. I mean, I don't know when we'll talk again. I'm on her schedule. So I started to think I should probably do text messaging, like those little feeders, right? Like, you know, whenever she's ready for a text, she just feeds into that and I'll give her a little something and then just move on. Cat people are the best. But I don't know if I'm a cat person or a dog person. But the one thing is for sure, my friends, if you want to be happy in your relationship, do 3 things. Number 1, back off. I don't know why I just went to New York there, but just back off. Just let them do what they got to do. Second, if they want to talk to you, let them reach out. And then third, if you really want to be happy in your relationship, if you really want to succeed at them, just don't get into them. That's it. All right, kids, that's my time. It's been Brooklyn. I hope you guys have a good time. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Give it up one more time for Brooklyn descent. Oh my goodness. My wife and I, we're both cat people and Costco and couch. Like, that's our mantra. I mean, we've been married 13 years. So like, and we work together, we live together, we used to sleep together. It's a really strong marriage. All right. I'm excited for our next act. Coming from Michigan, again, this from Muskegon, Michigan, also making his ACI debut. Please welcome to the stage the very funny Matthew Sharp.
All right. Hey, thank you, Jay. Appreciate that. Hey, by the way, give it up for Jay for keeping the show going. Thank you, good sir. Appreciate it. Give it up. So about me real quick, I do not have any grandchildren. I don't. But yet I'm pretty convinced I've got early onset grandpa. When I get home from the show tonight, I'm going to walk into my bedroom and I'm going to go buy a dehumidifier, an air purifier, a CPAP machine, and for good measure, my hospital bed from Sleep Number. Because nothing says I'm a young and vibrant man like a bed that just slowly ejects me in the morning. Yeah. I have to face up to this. I'm nursing home ready. Yeah. At some point in time, the doctor is going to come out and he's going to tell my kids, your father is being kept alive by machines. My children will be, oh, thank God. We thought something was really wrong with him this time. I don't really fear getting old, though. I don't. I think when you're older, you can get away with more things, like stealing cars. If your car alarm goes off and you see an old guy standing there, Nobody's going to call the cops. We're going to help. Sir, don't worry. We're here for you. Let's get you on your way. I'm going to go try to find just a hanger to get you in there real quick. And if the owner shows up, all we have to do is fake dementia. Sir, why are you in my car? I'm in a car? Never know. Might even get a ride home. In my neighborhood, I've got a homeless guy near me. Stands on the corner every day. And I drove by once where he was normally working, and he left behind a pile of stuff, things that people had given him. And I looked down, I had to laugh because somebody gave the homeless guy a box of microwave popcorn. Really? What else could this generous person have possibly get? Did he come back and say, hey, sir, here, have a garage door opener. Maybe someday you can try it. Or hey, have a kayak. I'm sorry, I don't have a paddle. Good grief. I don't know if we have any runners in the crowd tonight watching, but let me give you the brief, short history of marathons, just so you know. Many thousands of years ago, a messenger of the Greek army volunteered to run 26.2 miles from the city of Marathon back to Athens to tell the citizens that the Persian army had been defeated. He ran to the city, burst through the gates, declared victory, and then dropped dead. I think there's a lesson to be learned here. I don't think the gods really want us to be running marathons. That's my takeaway from this. So you'd probably be surprised to hear that I did, in fact, run in the Chicago Marathon once. I didn't finish like most guys. Instead, I had to get to work, and they blocked off the street. So I just gave it my all for one block. I just kind of jumped out there and started running with them, and I did great. They were a little upset with me, because they're all in like their perfect, marathon running form. And then there's me. I kind of look like Chewbacca, getting tased as he runs by. But I made it to work on time. Like a lot of parents, I used to hate helping my kids with homework, but that changed when my son enrolled in culinary school. Now I love to help him with his homework. I'll be sitting there with him like, yeah. There's a little more cinnamon. I think we need more cinnamon. This pan of tiramisu definitely. Let me try another bite. Yep. Okay. No, we need more cinnamon, buddy. Why don't you make another pan? I'll sit here and I'll just take care of this one for you. I got you, buddy. We'll get through this together. It'll be great. I love being a dad. It's awesome. I had to take my 14-year-old son to the doctor the last week for his sports physical, and he looks at me and he says, "Dad, do I have ovarian cysts?" A little while later, he's on the back side of the same form, and he's kind of looking at me. He's like, "Dad, I don't know how to answer this last question." It's like, "Buddy, what's the question?" Do you wear a seatbelt, use a helmet, and use condoms? Like, well, do you? Not at the same time. Like, I don't know what the deal is. I think apparently my son is going to need a safe word for this physical. But on the upside, it does explain the driving in my city just a little bit. So thank you guys so much. Please enjoy the rest of the show.
Oh, give it up for Dad of the Year and avid runner, Matt Sharp. I mean, I've loved watching track and field. I don't know if you guys watched the Olympics, but there were a lot of great. Simone Biles was killing it. Almost. The weird thing was you saw the French pole vaulter, right? I mean, talk about getting the shaft. That's all I'm saying. Is that bull? He wished it was a Winter Olympic sport. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. Well, we have 3 amazing acts left. I'm excited to bring the next one. Also a debut. He's coming all the way from Brattleboro, Vermont. I've never been there, but I look forward to going sometime. Please welcome to the stage the very funny Neil Goldberg.
Thanks, Jay, and thanks everyone for being here. So I have an Irish Catholic mother and a Russian Jewish father, which has always made me wonder, around 1988, did God hire a diversity consultant? Because of my background, I had some tough decisions to make. Like when I was 13, I had to decide between getting a bar mitzvah at a temple, or a confirmation at the church. I decided to get a bar mitzvah because I knew the presents would be better and I wouldn't have to give the clergy a hand job. I remember talking with one of my Jewish friends about this decision, and he said, "How could you be a Catholic? They're so crazy. They believe virgins can get pregnant." I just looked at him and was like, "So you think chopping off the top of our dicks is sane?" I asked a rabbi if he had to believe in God to be Jewish. He said no. I was so surprised. It was liberating to know that you can be Jewish and not believe in God. It was then when I realized, hey, you can be an American and not be racist. My parents never pushed me to believe in God. They told me to find what I love and commit to it, which I did until I went to rehab. The timing of this wasn't great. It was right when I started to get a really good deal on cocaine. I was familiar with addiction from a young age. There was a lot of drinking on my mother's side. I remember once she took me to our church, and when I walked in, I said, "Oh, it's a family reunion." And she said, "No, hon, it's an AA meeting." I think drinking makes Catholics feel closer to a loving God, which explains why so many of them lose their virginity in his house. I've been dating, and it's exhausting and expensive. So I've started suggesting that on first dates, we get ice cream cones. That way I learn early on if she's more of a licker or a biter. In my dating experience, there's two kinds of breakup texts. The first is what I call the "she can't be bothered," which is where I send a text to make plans and she never responds. The second is what I call the blind side, which reads like this: "Neil, I care about you, but I'm not doing your laundry anymore. Love, Mom." I have to shop for belts in the boys section, and as a result, I get hit on a lot by frugal pedophiles. These are the cheapest members of the diaper sniper community. They target people who both look like children and like they can afford to split the dinner bill. I grew up in Vermont, and it's hard to peg people politically there. I met a lot of guys who were very pro-choice and pro-gun because they're serious about equality. They believe both men and women have the right to decide who dies. I read recently about a guy in Florida who shot his wife after she served him a plate of pancakes. Can you imagine being so bad in the kitchen that your spouse would rather eat prison food? Some technology is just sucking the joy out of life, like self-checkouts. I miss what a thrill it used to be when I would go to my local pharmacy and stare into the cashier Joni's eyes while she was ringing up my condoms. When I was in high school, the health teacher was the football coach, which in hindsight explains the poor turnout at our 10th reunion. I felt right at home with an alcoholic teaching me about sex, but one day I almost passed out when he was talking about vaginas. I had never heard words like vulva, fallopian, or clit. The priest that I had been exposed to didn't have those. Thanks, guys. It's been great.
Give it up one more time for Neil Goldberg. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Hey, I was an altar boy too. 12 years, not so much a pat on my ass. I actually got more action from my little league coach. So are you ready? We got two amazing comedians left. This next comedian is coming all the way from Chicago, Illinois. Please welcome to the stage the very funny Kyle Parker.
When people learn that I have 5 kids, they always ask the same question. You Mormon? Catholic? No, I'm an alcoholic. We had 5 kids in 7 years. That's 7 years of breastfeeding, changing diapers. It was a ton of work for my wife. And I think that really says something. I think what that says is I must be great in bed. I mean, I'm the cause of all that work for her, and she still wants to talk to me, and let alone cuddle. It's Kind of like if she went on a roller coaster ride and at the end of the ride, she gets a baby. I mean, how amazing must that ride be for her to go on it again and again and again? And oh my God, again. Am I more addictive than heroin? A couple of my friends have said, hey, Parker, it's great that your wife likes to have sex with you and all, but come on, man, you got to take some responsibility for all these kids and getting her pregnant. I just don't think they understand how much my wife likes to have all kinds of sex with me. And, it's really hard for them to understand that I just can't be that responsible when I'm blindfolded and handcuffed to a chair. And some of my other friends are like, wow, your wife must really love a big family. It's kind of like she loves wine and dirty movies and squeezing down on my nipple clamps. Sometimes my wife likes to dress up as characters, to enhance the mood. The other night, to get things started, she walked in dressed as my mother-in-law. Jesus, at least I hope that wasn't my mother-in-law. My kids are always asking why there's so many of them and why they have to share everything. The other day, my daughter was like, Dad, Olivia's family only has 2 kids. Zoe is an only child, and they all have their own Xbox. Well, I can't tell them about their mothers. So I'm just like, honey, people like us have big families. She's like, what do you mean people like us? I'm like, we're Amish. I recently quit drinking and went sober. I drink a lot of mocktails. So to my wife, mocktails. Mocktails. This just isn't the same. She's like, of course not. They took the cock out of it. Thank you very much.
Please give it up one more time for Kyle Parker. Heck yeah. And now we're going international. Okay. We've been all over the US today, but your final comedian tonight is from Vancouver, Canada. And I couldn't be more excited to introduce. Please welcome to the stage the very funny Roy Handsome.
Hi, Jay. Handsome is my stage name, but and that's all right. So thank you everyone for coming. And you need to know I have nightmares about things that I really love. I love the show The Price is Right. I love that game show, The Price is Right. And I had this dream where I'm on the show and there was this beautiful Corvette that I wanted to win. But when I picked the door, it's not the door where you win the Corvette. It's not even the door where you win luggage. I picked the door where you get a case of hemorrhoids. I have no patience. I got a 12-piece jigsaw puzzle and I bailed on it. Later, I forgot to plug in my charger last night, and it was really scary because when I woke up this morning, I was only at 13%. My family wanted to go to Safari Land. It's like this park in California with all this wildlife. And I saved $2,000 on the trip. I said, we're not going. No, we're not going. We'll talk about it later. She's not even over there. I bought a robot for the house to help with chores and stuff. And I tell you, this AI is really scary. The robot is doing stuff like it used to. Sorry, the robot is not doing stuff like it used to. I think it's like the robot is mopey. I'm thinking maybe if he got a relationship, maybe he needs a relationship with another machine. So I bought him a toaster. And you know, I think it's working. The robot is spending all sorts of time with it. The toaster doesn't talk, just listens to him. It makes toast, just makes toast. I think my robot has fallen in love with it. In fact, I think I've fallen in love with it. I live in Canada, and we keep reading how your gun laws are way more lenient than ours. And I could see that could be a real dilemma. I was at the grocery store in Montana, and I was thinking about, should I get the Ben & Jerry's vanilla, or should I go for these mortar shells? So I was pulled over by the police. I guess it was speeding. I had a few drinks. And these bastards, they handcuffed me and put me in the back of the car and driving me to lockup. You know, I'm still, kind of high and in a good mood. So I tell them I'm a comedian. And I started telling them some of my jokes. But that's when they pulled over, took off the cuffs, and told me to get the hell out of the car. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Give it up for one more time for Roy Hankonen. How about it? Oh my God. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You've been a phenomenal audience. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We would love for you to go follow us on social media at ACI Comedy. Please, we would love to see you at our next workshop. So please go to www.americancomedyinstitute.com. I've been Jay.